are now listening to a Super Breakdown production. Follow us at The Super Breakdown on all social media. Thank you.
Welcome to the Super Breakdown, where we take your favorite heroes and villains, break them down, and open up a multiverse of possibilities. With 2 words, 1 question, what if? I'm your host, the man of the hour in the Tower of Power.
Yo, and it's your main man, the master disaster, the ruler of the Alpha and Omega Triage.
And we are here to talk about the one, the only, overgrown mosquito himself,
Angel, or aka Archangel.
This one's going to be a good one, because right now we are taking a look at, someone that I feel is, forget about I feel, is one of the most overlooked X-Men ever. This man continuously gets benched and has not had a good live action run yet. In my opinion, not having a good live action run. I feel like they've done my man dirty. He was a founding member of the X-Men, one of the first X-Men to even appear on the cover art. My man's Angel, Beast, Jean Grey, but at the time, she was going by Marvel, whatever one. Back in X-Men #1, right alongside Cyclops and Bobby Drake, Iceman, all the way back in July 2nd, 1963. Written by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, inked by Paul Ryman. And the lettering was done by Sam Rosen. I always say it. I apologize if I botched that, but this character has been benched so hard. My boy Warren Worthington III has just been benched so hard. Triage. So since this character is your favorite X-Men, I'm gonna let you take it. I'm gonna let you take it away. Let's just jump into his origins, where his starting, and let's go up from there.
So with Warren Worthington III, he is from old money. His family's very wealthy, and the whole thing is that one of the things I always found interesting about his character is that he's never let that wealth define him. So when he was a young man, he noticed these bulges growing from his shoulder blades, on his back, and he started to wonder what they were. And then as time went by, he began to sprout wings, and he went as far as trying to shave them off, but realizing it was causing him massive amounts of pain, he decided to try to tie them down and then try to blend in normally. But they grew to such a length where he could no longer do that.
So essentially, he's trying to pass himself off as human passing, because as we see a lot, in the MCU, when it comes to mutants, that their mutation has made them look less human. We've seen that they've banded together. We see they're called the Morlocks, and they live underground in the sewers and stuff. And so they take pride in the fact that they don't look like humans. They don't pass as humans. So essentially, he would be considered a Morlock, since he has a physical mutation that stops him from passing as human.
And I absolutely love the fact that you brought up the Morlocks. That actually plays a big part in his future later on. Mm-hmm. But we'll get to that in a moment. The thing the fact that you use the word passing, and passing is a very interesting word, because the X-Men were always Stan Lee's attempt at addressing the race issue in America, especially creating them in the 60s, because, that was the height of the civil rights movement. The riots were happening, and then you had people like Malcolm X and the Panthers, and there was a lot of stuff going on for the Black Power movement. And the X-Men was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's attempt at addressing the race issue. And using the word passing is so strong in this sense of the context, because way back when, if you were someone who was a fair enough skin and had, you know, a different grade of hair, you could pass for white if you were black. And if you never said anything, no one would notice. And that's what that term came from. You were passing by being what everyone thought you were.
Exactly. And that's one thing, you know, that's what kept him, you know, apart. That's what brings him apart from a lot of the other X-Men. Because, you know, you have people like Beast, and I say Beast as in the original Beast. He wasn't blue with fur. He was just a big white man with big feet.
Dr. Hank McCoy.
Hank McCoy. But then you have Jean Grey. You have Cyclops. You know, Iceman when he wasn't, you know, cold, I guess.
Looking like a snowman in boots.
Looking like a snowman in boots. You know, all these other X-Men were, you know, they could walk down the street every day and just wouldn't get a passing glance. You know, you're looking at, you know, Cyclops because, like, you know, you walk around at nighttime with some shades on and something wrong with you. But but you know, with Angel, it's different. You know, he really couldn't do much to hide his wings besides wear a long trench coat. And, you know, with that, I just feel like him accepting that and just being more of just like, you know what? Listen, I'm a mutant. I'm proud. Mutant and proud. That's what I do. I save people, and just him just really taking in, you know, his mutant side, and like you said, it really ties into that pride. You know, I'm black and I'm proud.
Right. And like, well, when he first actually realized his wings were going to full length and realized that the speed and the strength that he got when flying, he began to experiment with it, and it actually paid off when he actually saved several kids at his school from a fire. Mm-hmm. And he was literally disguised as an angel. You know, you got this long cloak, you know, these white wings glowing, blonde hair. So everyone's like, you know, is Gabriel, is that you? So, you know, they figured, like, you know, he's come down and saved them. But several of his classmates actually recognized him. Yeah. And they actually swore an oath of silence to keep his secret, which they actually wind up doing. And I thought that was always really cool.
And that's one thing I find cool just about, you know, X-Men in general. And again, that tie, that text to world tie in there, you know, because you can even bring that into, you know, people, non-people of color that were, you know, down with the civil rights movement as well, that had that had the backs of, you know, the African Americans that, you know, that were going through this. Oh, no, that's that. Don't worry, you can hide in here. You can hide here. Underground Railroad, for God's sake. The Quakers, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Those people that were not like them, that chose to protect them just based off that humanity. And that's what I love the most about the X-Men. And the X-Men were my favorite group of, you know, Marvel heroes for a long time, because I was able to identify the most with them, and being, you know, having that tear between the peace and then, you know, the violence, but also bringing the peace and accepting who you are. That right. You know, just because you're born a certain way doesn't make you less of a person or a human being, or even then just a living being than someone else, just because you're born in a different way. You know, that's what I've always liked about Angel too. Even going forward, he always, you know, from what I've read, like, he always put himself, you know, he always put others before him. He made sure that he was using his powers and abilities to always help others. And, you know, I feel like he had such, you know, the character was such a vision of righteousness and doing the right thing, because it was just the right thing. And and of course, they wrote the character to really truly live up to that angel, live up to being angel, guardian angel, the avenging angel, as he's sometimes called. Which I find really interesting going forward, where they decide to challenge that character and that character's morale later on going down the line. Like you talked about, when the moral lives come into a very important part in his future. When we start to talk about that one mission that changed everything, and I believe when we were talking about this yesterday, you actually opened my eyes to something about this mission that I never knew. I didn't know. I just thought that there was this group of super, super highly dangerous mutants that were hired by Sinister to slaughter the mutants that I spoke about before, the Morlocks who lived in the sewers. They go down there, they start slaughtering them. Angel shows up. His mission was to help save them. Unfortunately, he gets caught up by the Marauders, and they damage his wings to the point where, beyond repair, essentially. But now you brought up an interesting thing about that mission. You brought up something really interesting about that. Please enlighten the audience with this.
So, one of the biggest things before I touch on that is the dynamic between Warren the Third and Warren the Second. Is the dynamic between him and his father, because Warren's father always saw his wings as, like, in his mind, they might as well have been giant tumors.
Yeah.
Right? Like they were an unsightly growth. It was a scar, something to be removed or fixed. And Warren felt that is what made him special. You know what I mean? And it's like how there's a version of the story where he tries to develop a cure just so he can make his son, quote unquote, normal. And he's like,
and X-Men Last Stand. That's the story that they brought out in X-Men Last Stand. For those of you that don't remember, that's where we see Angel first get Warren get his first live action debut is in X-Men Last Stand, where the big thing was the cure, fixing the mutant air quote disease.
Right.
So I find it interesting that you bring that up, and actually the fact that they were able to tie that into that real world until on screen adaptation, and really bring that to life. The fact that his father just saw him as being sick, not as being special or different or great. Saw him as being sick, as being someone that needed help, as somebody with something wrong with him, so fundamentally wrong with him that it needed to be ripped away or cut away. And growing, and I can only imagine as a child growing up, and constantly being told that something that was just so fundamentally a part of you was a sickness, an illness, something's wrong with you. Those miracles essentially it's wrong. You're not, and it makes you start to think like, damn, maybe I'm not special. I'm not as special as I think. Maybe I am. Maybe there is something wrong with me. And then not only being told this, but then in turn being treated as so. Now that brings a whole nother thing. It's being treated as if you were sick, as if there was something wrong with you, growing up as a child. I can only imagine like what that will do to a character's, mindset going forward. Like, this character has so many levels to him that, I feel bad that I always slept on this character. I always thought he was a bench warmer. I didn't really think much of the character until we started doing research for this episode. That like, no, this character, there's levels to this character. And based on the personality build of this character, but then as we're going to get into later on, his abilities.
Right. And then and then like his abilities have varied over the years, and like everyone knows that he's got the wings, but there's a secondary ability that really manifested after he becomes augmented. Now, Power mentioned the whole thing with the Marauders and the Morlocks. Now, once again, the Morlocks were a group of mutants who their abilities had affected their physical appearances so much they could not pass, and I use that word again, pass as human. So they wound up living in the sewers. Now, the Marauders were a group of mutants that got sent to kill the Morlocks. Now, here's how shit comes full circle. So now, there is a member of the X-Men. He was not a member at the time. He becomes a member of the X-Men by the name of Remy LeBeau. This is the mutant known as Gambit. Gambit was actually losing control of his ability to manipulate kinetic energy in objects. And because of this, he was worried about blowing something up that he didn't mean to, or causing something to blow up with much more force than what it should have. So he winds up going to Nathaniel Essex, who's Sinister. Sinister is the one who has Gambit round up the Marauders and sends the Marauders to kill the Morlocks. Now, on a mission to help them, because the X-Men go into the sewers, and Angel actually winds up being pinned to a wall by his wings. And the bones in his wings, since Angel has the physiology similar to that of a bird, so his bones are hollow.
And that's what I found. That's what I found pretty interesting. Like, is that you're getting to that point where it's about to come full circle, and I'm sitting here getting excited because, when you revealed this to me, boy, it blew my mind. Like,
right?
Like, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish. Guys. I'm just waiting.
When Angel's wings were broken, that's when like some of his other abilities got really to shown to flourish. Like, it got revealed that he has heightened senses. It's revealed that he has enhanced strength, not super strength. He has enhanced strength. He can carry like 3-4 times his weight, and then it's like he can also see at the speed that he's flying at. So it's like stuff like that got revealed. But the biggest thing that got revealed was that Angel has a healing factor very similar to Wolverine's. Now, when Angel's wings got broken because they're hollow like a bird's, they're massive. They're like 8 feet each. He's probably got like a 16, 20-inch wingspan from probably tip to tip. So his wings had to be set and taken care of by a specialist.
Like as if it was a broken leg. But like the fact that because they were so hollow, like imagine someone that suffers from the glass bone syndrome.
Osteogenesis imperfectus.
Yep. Imagine if you would, if they were to break an arm, it would be devastating. Their bones would shatter and splinter. And essentially, this was the situation with Angel. Since his bones being hollow, they didn't just break or snap; they shattered. To the point where like you said, he had to see that specialist, right? And I believe after that, they had to make the choice between if it was him or his wings.
Right. His father actually steps in and makes that choice, and his father, feeling that his wings were, the problem in his life to begin with, he had him amputated. And this bothered Warren so much that once he healed to the point where he could walk and talk again, he felt so empty. Like, in his mind, he felt like his father just paralyzed him from the neck down. Opposed to his father, who felt like, he cut cancer out of his heart. Like, you know what I mean?
That's just imagine, like, your most sacred possession, the one thing that you absolutely love the most out of everything, being ripped away from you against your will. Not even to mention the fact that you're essentially you're unconscious. You have no choice in the matter. And then the one thing that you love the most just gets absolutely ripped away from you. Like, it threw this man into an absolute pit of turmoil. I can't talk today. He was just horrified. He fell into a depression, and which led him to be vulnerable when, fate came a knocking, and he ends up, linking up with a certain specialist by the name of Mr. Sinister.
Nathaniel Essex.
And this is what we're talking about when it comes full circle.
Yeah, because as I said before, Essex is the one who hired Gambit to round up the Marauders. And if Angel hadn't gone on that mission, he would have never had his wings damaged, and thus he'd have never been augmented by Sinister to become the Archangel. The Angel of Death.
This is where things get good and get juicy. Now we're talking about this man's powers already being before, just let alone before becoming augmented. Just his normal, natural, organic wings themselves. He was able to fly at speeds beyond. He was outflying planes. He was literally outflying planes with his wings. And again, like you said, he was not only able to see at the speed in which he was flying, but he was also able to breathe at the speed he was flying. Because again, you're flying through the air, you're getting pelted with just all these, these G forces and all this air flying at you. Normal person, that would absolutely explode our lungs, but he was able to breathe normally, naturally at the rate in which he was flying. Not to mention, normally just having the superhuman stamina, superhuman durability, peak human strength, so he can lift equal to his body weight and or over that, up to 500 pounds. Just alone by himself. He was aerial adaptations, they called it, where his anatomy became much like a bird, the hollow bones, lighter. He was able to process food a lot better than a normal human body, which kept him in such a great physical form. Let alone his wings, he's able to go up to 180 miles per hour flying. Now he gets augmented, and not only does he have wings, but now he has techno-organic wings, essentially metal wings that allow him to fly. But not only that, now those wings, those feathers on those wings, can be shot out like blades, wing blades. Since his wings are metal, he can use it as a shield. He can now create and secrete this poisonous plumage from that he can attach to his wing blades, and it can poison darts. Of course, like Triage said, he ended up getting the healing factor, but now he also has a hypersonic scream on top of an energy halo. Come on. And now that's just when he became Archangel, dude. Doing this research, his powers are absolutely, to me, I say he can possibly easily be Omega level. On top of his expert combat training, his swordsmanship, his physical strength is normally, there's stories where he ends up getting the symbiote ends up getting a symbiote attached to him, which turns his angel wings or his techno wings into black bat wings that are able to shoot out and grab people. And of course, we already know how symbiotes get with their hosts. They get pretty clingy, and they hold on to a lot of that. But before that, he ends up being taken over by the Black Vortex, and now that gives it the powers he get with Black Vortex is nuts. He gets cosmic wings. He gets the power of cosmic. He gets celestial tech-like armor. He gets an energy sword, and he gets self-sustainability, which means that he doesn't need to breathe while he's flying through space. It just blows my mind, because like I said, I've essentially been just completely disregarding this character. Completely disregarding this character as if he's just a bench warmer. But like,
shame on you.
Yes. I feel bad. Like, this has really like brought out a newfound love for this character. Like, he has a life force manipulation as Archangel. Like, it's crazy. You know, and then like it as I was reading, I learned they say that his only weakness was beautiful women. You know,
shout out to Psylocke.
we don't sound like some weirdos. We start talking about, like, you know, comic book characters and shit. And like that. I mean, I'm a weirdo, but I'm not that weird. But like, the thing that I find the greatest about this character is the fact that, one, he's supposed to be a descendant of this ancient race of celestial mutants known as seraphims, which are like angel-like, you know, angel-like beings. That is, and then there's this whole other side of it, Nephims, which are like mutants that look more demonic, like such as Azazel, and then his son, you know, like his son Nightcrawler, that just look like demons. Which is why, you know, they brought up, oh well, he probably also has his, you know, that's probably why he has his healing factor, because of the, you know, he's essentially just ancient angelic, you know, race of mutants that's older than, you know, the oldest mutant that we know, like biblical times. Like,
right.
Like this character is essentially broken, and the fact that he has played a part in so much, and like he's been such a pivotal part in so many different storylines, you know, reaching all the way, like I said, as a founding member of the X-Men, all the way to X-Force, to you know, being, you know, to, yeah, and then turning into Archangel, being one of the four horsemen in the Apocalypse, the horseman of death,
The leader of the four horsemen in the Apocalypse.
The leader of the four horsemen. He was Apocalypse's right-hand man. Like,
went from being a bench warmer on the original squad to someone who was almost this close to killing the original squad.
Word. Yeah, he was. He had them on the fence. I remember, because, you know, if you take a look back all the way to X-Men 97, or at least, you know, what they're calling it now, that whole Apocalypse arc, it was just him as Archangel, essentially really just having the X-Men on the ropes, having them on the run. And it was him, it was essentially him alone, which eventually ends up leading to him coming back, you know, and becoming Angel once again, once the shock of, you know, him thinking that he killed Iceman and went a secret event, that shock ends up sending him back into and breaking that brainwashing and sending him back into, you know, Warren, or, you know, Angel. And then you can imagine what, you know, what happens at that point with someone who had such a strong moral standpoint as, you know, doing the right thing, being just and all that, and then again having the thing that you love the most ripped away from you,
Right.
being manipulated and brainwashed to attack and kill your friends, to finally come back and be like, whoa, I did all that, and oh, it was because of him? All right, say less. We gotta end him. We're gonna take him out. We're gonna end him. So he goes on a one-man warpath, right?
Right. He proceeds to wage a one-man war against Apocalypse. Now, for all those who do not know, all right, Apocalypse is believed to be En Sabanor. He's believed to be the original mutant. And it's like how he literally is the Alpha and Omega. So for you to say more or less that you're about to take on a god because of what that god did to you, that speaks volumes to your level of stability.
Like he is literally technically a mutant god. He is essentially the god of mutants. And without hesitation, he looks at Rogue and is like, "No, y'all don't know what needs to be done. I know what needs to be done. I'm gonna get it done." And flies off to go take on Apocalypse single-handedly. And that just, you can, in that moment, you can tell how damaged this character really is at that point.
It's to me, it's that classic Frankenstein story on a slight twist. Like, it's that, you made me a monster, and every monster has to kill its creator.
That's a good point. That's a good connection right there. Yeah, Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought about it that way.
We saw that in like First Class. Matter of fact, Magneto actually says that in X-Men First Class, who was phenomenally played by Michael Fassbender. I think he did a phenomenal job as Magneto.
Amazing.
And to me, that's always one of those things. Like, we talk about the monsters in movies and stuff that happens and stuff but it's like, if this monster is a reflection of society, or what something that was so horrific was truly done to him, and he snapped, you know what I mean? What's more American than giving someone a taste of their own medicine?
That's true. But and then also then the question really rises is, do you blame the monster, or do you blame the monster for doing these evil deeds, or do you blame the person that created the monster to do these evil deeds? Who's truly evil?
It's definitely Apocalypse.
Yeah. In my eyes, the person that created this monster is the one that's truly evil. The monster is a victim like the rest of us.
Right.
He didn't choose to become evil. He didn't choose to be brainwashed and be born to do these things. He never had a choice. And that's exactly what happened with Warren here. He was swindled. He was essentially swindled. They told him, hey, you'll get this, you'll get that, you'll get this. You'll be better than before, brand new. You'll feel like a new man. And they end up using the Death Seed, or the Apocalypse Seed, which is one of a string of biblical celestial artifacts, which turned him into essentially, it's just like an ancient version of the mutant amplifier, which ended up turning him into this. We got two stories. We got the story from the animated series, where it's the shock of thinking that he killed Iceman, but in the comic books there's the other story of that. It was actually the life seed, which is essentially the counterpart to the death seed, that was used on him and imbued into him to essentially bring him back from that end. So now we get to a point where Warren is no longer Archangel. He becomes so angry and depressed, over the things that he's done, feeling like he can never redeem himself. So then we start to see his metal wings start to wilt away, to reveal that his normal angelic organic wings had grown back. And to me, that I feel like that reads as into like a level of redemption for the character. I feel like it was a placebo effect. Him feeling guilty, him feeling that what I did was wrong and bad, and actually, feeling the pain of what he did is what honestly I feel like gave him a bit of penance and allowed his wings to end up growing back. But I mean, it doesn't end there when it comes to Warren's wings. I just feel like this man needs to start. He needs to get a warranty on these wings.
Yeah.
You need to get a lifetime warranty on his wings because, and it makes sense as being like as you normally pass for human, and then you have these huge 8-foot long wings, and not to mention when they were metal, they were longer, they were bigger when you had his metal wings. Like having like it's a target. It literally puts a target on your back. Yeah, 2 targets on your back essentially, and this man needs to get a warranty for these wings.
But he wore that target proudly, man, and that's another reason why I really salute him for it. Because you know, you get told all your life to be who you are, but you know, if you're flamboyant, oh, you're this, or if you're too dark, you're this, or if you act too hood, you're this. You know what I mean? They're quick to label you something to make you stand out from the crowd. But it's like, you know, we take that label back and it's an issue. Like look at black people and the way they use the N-word. Now, whether you're putting the A or the hard R, or you're going as far as using the term negus, which is Negus, which is a black emperor, king, or ruler in Ethiopia, and that's one of the many terms in which the word originates from. And it's like, you know, that's one of the things, like you taking it back, and it's like you making it yours. Like, you know, like he got told his entire life like his wings were something to be ashamed of. And I remember there's an episode of Wolverine and the X-Men where he actually gets into it with his father, like, yo, I'm not sick, this is not a disease, and he rips off his trench coat and walks out of his office of this Fortune 500 fucking company with his wings fully extended and walks out the building. Like, I wish somebody would say something.
Now, this is a Fortune 500 company which is backing and, you know, putting funds into creating a mutant cure. For him to release his wings and walk out of that of his father's company, the owner, and showing to all his employees that the owner's son is a mutant himself and wears it proudly. Imagine that controversy. Imagine that the problems that it causes within that company and the company's morale.
Right.
Like he cared not. He's like, I don't care how much. I'm going to rock your world with this.
You know what just popped in my head?
What?
That David Chappelle sketch where we're with Clayton Bigsby. Like, y'all want to see my face?
Oh no, not Clayton Bigsby. There. Yeah, I see it though. I see it. I definitely see it. It was like, you know, this is who I am. You either take me as I am, or you can, you know, censor this out. Fuck off.
Right.
You know?
So, but like you were saying with the whole ownership on the wings thing and the whole warranty for him, because after his wings, his metal wings wilted away and his angelic wings returned because of his healing factor and his sense of needing redemption, Angel actually joined the new team of X Factor. Excuse me, was it X Factor or X Force?
X Factor. Wait,
right?
I think it was an X Factor. Yeah, it was an X Factor, and it was an X Factor because Wolfman was on a team.
Right, yeah. And then they were supposed to be going on a mission, and on one of their missions, Wolfsbane loses control of her Wolf's side and actually tears Warren's wings off, literally rips them out of his back.
But now this time,
it was X Force.
It was X Force. All right.
Yes.
X Force. And but this time something different happens.
Yeah, boy.
His wings end up growing back immediately. But the problem with that now is that he ends up that Archangel side of him ends up waking up. and he finds
Right.
himself, finds his skin turning from, Caucasian to blue. And he finds he finds that Archangel side starting to awaken again. And which I found really interesting, because it's like, we see that part of him was supposed to be cured, but now in this time of dire need, this dark side of him ends up reemerging.
Right.
I have an interesting theory about that, though. I do have an interesting theory about that. So I've been thinking about this.
All right, go ahead.
Wolfbane, she's essentially a werewolf, right?
Yeah.
And so werewolves are essentially with their own respects, shapeshifters.
Yeah, they just have the one shift. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they're able to go from one form to another form.
Right.
Now, I've been thinking about when a werewolf bites someone, they then end up there's a possibility they can end up contracting lycanthropy. The virus that turns you into a werewolf or a werebeing. We've seen werebears, were-cheetahs, were-leopards, were-coyotes, were-rabbits.
Were-rabbits.
Shout out to Courage the Cowardly Dog. Were-bunnies. But I was thinking, what if when she ripped his wings off, she essentially made him a werebeing as well, which is what ends up giving him that ability to shapeshift between angel and archangel.
Like she literally made him a were-angel.
Yeah. I've never expected to hear were and angel together in the same sentence. That was but essentially turns him into a were-angel.
Right.
And then he's able to go back and forth between that docile, avenging angel to that monstrous savage of the angel of death, Archangel.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, it would make sense, because that would always be in his genetic code, because his DNA is already different from him being a mutant. Then it was altered by Sinister. So it's like, if he did somehow manage to heal and repress that side of him, there's that age-old saying, you don't want to see the beast, don't throw the piece of meat in front of the cave. So it's like, all she did was wake that side of him up that was sleeping. So, and then he can willingly tap into it and tap out of it. I think I'm gonna buy that series and reread it.
Yeah, because I would if you even look at the situation again, his wings are so important to him. He's already had them taken away once against his will. What do you think is gonna happen now? Once he gets them back, he's going to be super protective over them. So he gets them ripped away again. That's that's asking for trouble, because he's now going to do anything in his power to get them back, even if that means letting out the beast a little bit to get that back. And which, I don't know, to me that makes sense. And again, it unlocked. And that's the thing about the X gene, and that's what I find so interesting. Is it's something that not a lot of people talk about. The majority of the time, the X gene shows itself during a time of when the body is in distress.
Right.
We see it when we watch the first Deadpool. They're messing around with him, saw that he had an X gene, and that's why they kept putting him through all those horrible experiments to try to activate the X gene by putting him under distress. We see that in multiple situations, especially with if you take a look at Scott Summers and the Summers brothers, when their powers manifested, they're in the middle of a flight with their family, and they end up crashing the plane because there was turbulence on the plane. They thought they were crashing, thought they was going down. Their powers ended up manifesting. No, actually,
Right.
if I remember correctly, it was Scott's powers that manifested first, which caused the power of the plane to go down. And then, as they're falling through, his brother's powers end up manifesting havoc. His powers manifest because that stress of falling, and in order to save him, him and his brother.
Right. And we see it some other places too. Like Bobby Drake was swimming in a pool and almost drowned, and on instinct he froze the water. Like Peter Rasputin, Colossus, he saw his little sister about to be hit by a car and jumped in front of it, and then his skin turned into steel.
So, and now these. So it begs the question, and it would honestly, it just makes sense that now if distress can activate the X gene, then distress should also be able to evolve the X gene as well, because that's all the X gene is. It's just a step in the next step in evolution. So, needless to say, that gene is going to still evolve, which we see all the time throughout X-Men. We see other mutants, their powers evolve into something. Oh, I can't control this. I don't know what's going on with this. And that's what the mutant amplifier is. The mutant amplifier essentially takes out that step of having to struggle with the evolution of your ability. It just takes you from point A. It goes 0 to 100 real quick. It takes you from where you are to having full mastery. It's like a pay to win. It's like a pay to win. You go from struggling with your powers to having full 100% control of your powers. Essentially, if you take a look at, we see the same thing happen when Emma Frost takes over Bobby Drake. She takes him from this normal level mutant into an omega level mutant, just because she's able to use his powers better than she is. She's able to access more than she is. So it makes sense that him being in distress in that moment ends up activating that other side of his powers and abilities. Which with all this, like, really, like, it's really when you talk about it, it's really upsetting that, like, they never flushed this character out in live action as much as he could be. We see him in X-Men First Class, which was, to me, it was a good start.
You mean X-Men First Class?
No, not First Class. Last Stand.
Yes.
We see him in Last Stand, and I feel like that was a great start to the character. Shout out to Ben Foster. I feel like he played the character very well. But again, an actor can only do so much with the script. If the script's not good, then you can only do so much. But I feel like he did something great with the script. I feel like he played, that opposition from the character's father very, very well, and he also played that pride in his mutant heritage very well as well. Also. So but then we get that, but then later on down the line in the X-Men movies, we end up getting to he was in Apocalypse, and we see a younger version of him that is completely different from the Warren that we see in Last Stand, which is a kid, which is like from the comic books, he was raised up in wealth, didn't really want it, private schools, this and that. But then we end up seeing this angel that's in Apocalypse in the middle of a mutant fight club.
Right.
Fighting Nightcrawler. And
I get it, he wanted to rebel against Daddy, but...
Yeah, we get he wanted to rebel against Daddy, but again, the character always had a sense of righteousness. And I highly doubt, hurting other mutants, using your powers against other mutants in a fight club would be really seen as just, and right. to somebody who calls himself Angel. You know, and then that's when we end up seeing that. You know, we end up seeing his wings get broken, and that's when Apocalypse comes in, and not even broken. Like one wing gets damaged. You know, he gives him no time to see if it's gonna heal. And it's like, oh wait, I can heal it for you, and then immediately turns him into Archangel. And it's like we've never got to see a good version, a full-fleshed version of this character. You know what? I want to see. I'd love to see them give Angel his own Disney Plus series.
Well, in my opinion, that's what they should do with the X-Men period. That'd be the best way to do it. They should show the first class. They literally show Xavier recruiting Angel, Cyclops, Bobby Drake, Jean Grey, and Hank McCoy. Give each one of them like 2 or 3 episodes to explain their character, and then they could end it like with them fighting Magneto, and that's showing that's the first class. And even if they did like a time jump and then like picked up where like the show from '97 picked off with Jubilee in the mall. I mean, once again, you have the format. All you have to do is follow it.
Yeah.
We got a character that's got 70 years almost of history, and they're fumbling the ball here.
And now when you talk about Marvel and Disney, that's not a phrase that's used too often. Fumbling, you know, dropping the ball. And that's not something you usually use too often with them. And it kills me because, like I said, they have all these ideas for, you know, they're like, yeah, we're gonna bring the X-Men, and yeah, we're gonna bring the X-Men, and you know, we see, you know, we just got the big Easter egg drop when the Multiverse of Madness dropped. You know, we got Patrick Stewart's voice and the back of his head. Oh my God, yay! But like,
and here's my thing with that too is the X-Men wasn't done wrong to begin with. So that's the thing that like, there's not really much they need to fix or change. I mean, there's certain people who were like, you know, I don't think they were great casting choices. They were people who might have been picked off their popularity at the time. But it's like, I mean, I understand they had to do certain things to move the story along. Like, for example, I don't understand like how they put Bobby Drake with Rogue. Like, that never made sense to me. Anyone who's read the comics knows
it's Bobby Drake and Kitty.
Rogue.
And it's Rogue,
No,
Bobby Drake and Kitty, and then Rogue and Gambit.
Nah, it's Kitty and Colossus.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, and then Rogue and Gambit. And Gambit's another one. We got to touch on Gambit on his own because Gambit's got a bit of a colored history. So
yeah, but we'll save Gambit for another episode. We'll real dive into Gambit. I mean, I'm not looking forward to it because I don't want to talk about X-Men Origins Wolverine. I don't like talking about that.
Nothing against Taylor Kitsch, but once again, I mean, the actor can only do so much of what he's given, man.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I just don't. Yeah.
But the question I want to ask you, Power, is moving forward in the future, like, where do you see this character going? Because we've seen lesser known characters be portrayed phenomenally. Because, like, we both watched The Gifted and we thought that show was great.
Absolutely. It was amazing. I see with the platform that Marvel is on now, if they choose to, I feel like they can really, truly, really fully flush this character out and make him as strong and as powerful as he truly, really is. I feel like, in my own opinion, again, like I said, I feel like they should do it in a show-wise before bringing him into the movies. That way they can allow the MCU in itself to progress on its own, while giving you all these side stories like they're doing right now. It's a great formula. It's working. Don't change it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I feel like they can possibly do it right. I feel like they're on the right track with the Multiverse of Madness, because we all know how that's going to end. Or at least there's a higher probability of how it's going to end with the multiverse and colliding. And that's how we're gonna get the Fox Marvel heroes into the Fox heroes and the Marvel and the Universal heroes into the MCU. And then that's where they can start to truly build the X-Men going into the right direction without having to do as many retcons as Fox had to do. At the end of the day, even though I really thought Days of Future Past was a really good movie. I liked it a lot, but we all know it was just a giant retcon. It was literally, they used that movie to go back and change the course in the history of the movies, and then also tie in their First Class movie with their main universe. And then that's why if you pay attention, it's kind of hard not to see the scene of Apocalypse where they actually come across the Weapon X facility, and it's actually Jean Grey who lets Wolverine loose.
Right.
After we see him get picked up out of the ocean by William Stryker at the end of Days of Future Past. So we see him with bare naked. We see he has huge brainwashing goggles on and everything. So okay, I'll give him that. They did that well in Apocalypse. I don't like to talk about Apocalypse either. That movie was just ouch. But I feel like they, like you said, they didn't necessarily do it wrong, but I feel like they can do it now without having to retcon too many things. One huge giant retcon, reset, do a soft reboot on it with Multiverse of Madness, and then get the story going in the right direction. Which means now we can get a standalone series of Archangel that'll be we can get the standalone series of Angel, which will be a spin-off of the X-Men TV show, which they can also then maybe even possibly tie in Gifted, and we can actually get another season of Gifted. Because the way that season of Gifted ended really pissed me off. Then now we can then eventually see the Netflix Marvel brought in. We can see the Hulu Marvel brought in. Speaking of the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger.
Great shows. And
we already know that Cloak and Dagger takes place in the main MCU, because within the second season we see Cloak actually talk about Luke Cage.
He does.
And we see him in the actual on the newspaper clipping. So we can actually again start to see everything go in the right direction. We can now see Angel from the beginning as a founding member of the X-Men. We can even do standalone seasons or episodes of each character, each or founding member of the X-Men, finding their powers, and then at the end of each season, we see them get picked up by Xavier, which would then end up leading into an X-Men series. And then with that X-Men series, that would be the main thing. Then we have the spinoffs. We have the Rogue spinoff. We have the Gambit spinoff. We have the Angel spinoff, and then the Angel spinoff would end up leading back in to the main. We see at the end of the Angel, at the end of the Angel series, we see him become Archangel, and then it leads back into the X-Men, to the main X-Men show, and then that's where we see him take off from there. Then we can see the second season, and then we can end up getting a second season of Angel, and it actually end up being Archangel, the same way they did Falcon and Winter Soldier at the end of that, and it becomes Captain America in the Winter Soldier. We can see it go Angel to now the show being called Archangel, and see it taken from there and spin off again. I just feel like that would be such a great way to do it. A lot more revenue will bring in, a lot more viewership. The ratings are going to skyrocket on that, and we finally get to see this character done right when they actually take their time.
Right. And it's like, I get it, certain things just don't transition well for literature to screen. I do get that. Like, that's one of the reasons like why they gave like Nightcrawler the angelic symbol as opposed to having him covered in fur, because it wouldn't work. I get it.
Yeah.
But there's also little things that you gotta do shit justice. Like I said, he's my favorite X-Men. He's been my favorite X-Men since I was a kid. And then it's like, then all this other stuff that they've elaborated on since then, him getting the angelic wings, and him being a descendant of an ancient race of mutant angels, and him going as far as becoming Apocalypse's right-hand man, and then him raising a one-hand war against Apocalypse. That's another thing. The biggest thing with that is that we've already seen a character with wings do damage in combat with the Falcon. So, I love Anthony Mackie playing that character. I think he's doing a great job.
Absolutely, 100%. I feel like they picked the right person. That was perfect casting. Disney and Marvel they're just absolute wizards when it comes to casting. And I agree with you. Like we know that a winged character will translate to the screen, to live action. We've seen it already. If you take a look at the way, at least, but even then,
hell, they did it in Lucifer.
There you go. I was about to say it. You called me before. You called me for. I was about to say it because they already did the crossover. They, in the Crisis, they did the crossover. Lucifer is a part of the Arrowverse in DC. They did the crossover. They did it. We saw him. We saw Tom Ellis as Lucifer in, and him talking that whole thing with him and Constantine.
Right.
So we know it's a thing. So again, we've already seen a character done with wings and fly in combat with angelic wings. We've seen a character in combat with metal wings. So absolutely 100%, it can work. Both Angel and Archangel will translate. But the question is, will they do it? Will they translate?
Do they have the balls to do it?
Not even that, because they do. They had the balls to do Shang-Chi the way they did Shang-Chi. They had the balls to do Endgame and Infinity Wars the way they did it. First of all, they had the balls to do Infinity War the way they did it, and leave it as that for a whole year. Let alone pause, rewind. Everyone just saw No Way Home, right? They had the balls to do that. Let alone what they're about to do in Multiverse of Madness. This is Marvel and Disney literally dropping two in-game level movies back to back. And not to mention, we got Moon Knight coming up. We should have known that they had the balls to do this when they decided to do Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
Heroes that no one knew of. And it be a hit. I saw it. I went to see it opening day. Admittedly, completely by accident. I was just like, oh, me and my boy was out. I was like, oh, yo, let's go see this Marvel movie. He's talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's go see it. And it was a hit. It was an absolute hit. 1 and 2 hit. 3 is gonna be a hit. So we know they got the balls to do it. It's the point about will they do it? Well, will they put the time in to do it? Is the question. I think they might, because they're putting the time in to do another Fantastic Four. I think they might because they're putting the time in to do Blade. I think they might because they took the time in to do the Eternals.
Well, once again, the Eternals wasn't bad to me. The Eternals was just dry.
It was dry, but it was meant to be dry. Because all these movies that we're about to get, aside from No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness, these movies are meant to drive the story. Like with Loki, I felt Loki was dry. It was great,
Yeah.
but it was only meant to drive to pull the multiverse forward. After essentially they just completely just flipped it on its head. They completely flipped it on its head, so they needed things to pull their story and pull their timeline forward. And as you see, Loki, all Loki really was a setup for No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness. That's all Loki was. That's all WandaVision was. WandaVision and Loki were setups for No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness. This is just like the same way we're about to see Falcon / Captain America and the Winter Soldier. That's about to be a build-up for something else. Shang-Chi was a great movie, but also it was just to carry the story. It was just to pull it forward. So it's a matter, I think they will. I think they could, but I feel like we need to advocate for it. I think we need people to advocate for them to truly bring Angel full-fledged. Because again, even though he's a founding member, even though he has all these accolades, even though he was all these other incredible things, I feel they still see he's not as popular as he should be. And right now, Marvel is bringing in, they're bringing in, they're doing step by step. They're bringing they did the most popular first. Now they're doing they did the A-list event heroes first. Now they're doing the B-list heroes. So then they're gonna get to the C-list heroes. And I hate to say it, but everything we're seeing now is definitely B-list heroes. We're getting, Shang-Chi, we getting, Fantastic Four, and all these other, and I feel like X-Men should have been a part of that. X-Men was supposed to be a part of that A-list thing, but they just weren't able to get the rights in time. They weren't able to get the rights in time. The X-Men were supposed to be a part of Endgame. I feel like the X-Men were supposed to be part of Endgame, but they weren't able to get the rights in time to do it. But yeah, I feel like they will eventually. I feel like they could eventually, but I feel like they need to see a want for it, because that's the thing. Marvel and Disney are at the point where they're in the business of fan service. They're in the business of fan service, man. So, if they see that the fans want them, they're gonna give them. They're gonna give them. So we just gotta wait and see, give time, and really put it out there that this is a character that we want to see. Because he could be absolutely devastating. Like I said, he took on the entire original, or not even. It wasn't even the full original crew. It was like full X-Men staff, because they had Nightcrawler at the time, they had Storm at the time, Jubilee, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Wolverine. They had all of them at the time, and the one person, Archangel, was holding them all at bay. They had their A-list team. Their A-list team, and their bench warmer was spanking them.
like 4-year-olds in Kmart.
Yeah. So, yeah, we gotta. I don't know. They can, but will they? I feel like that's truly the real question. You know. So, like, all in all, you know, at the end of the day, I personally feel like Archangel is an absolutely amazing character. Should be fully, brought to light. And I now have a newfound respect and newfound love for this character. You know, that's all I can really say about it. This guy is just, his abilities. He can become broken. He's pretty much on the verge of Omega level. What do you think?
I think he's definitely at Omega level. I mean, between the stuff he's pulled off, to the feats that he's accomplished, to the fact that he's damn near unkillable, and the fact that now that he can shift back and forth between his regular angel form and his archangel form, if he can't get it done in his regular form, he's definitely getting it done as archangel.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there you have it, you guys. Archangel broken down for you, giving you the full multiverse treatment there. Just remember, if you guys love the content, like, comment, subscribe, share. We're gonna be starting up something a bit new. We're gonna be doing a bit of comparing, two heroes. When we taking a look at two different heroes. So instead of just doing one hero an episode, you guys are gonna get two heroes or two villains an episode. So be ready for that. It's going to be great. We're going to have a good time. There's a lot more things coming soon. Stay tuned. And especially with next episode, we're going to take a look at and talk about the one, the only Black Panther himself. All right. Thank you. Peace. Power out.
Triage out.